Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you all. I am Steph Morrison from the Canadian Schoolhouse, and I am here in Saskatchewan. And with me is Christine,
Yeah, and I'm in Ontario.
and we are going to share, we're going to share a few things with you. So why don't we start off just with our little announcements, a little bit about what's going on around the old schoolhouse, and especially the Canadian Schoolhouse.
Yeah, so if you haven't signed up already, we send out a weekly e-blast full of resources for you, Canadian articles, themed articles. We have themes every month, so you can check that out on our website. But we will send you all the updates in these e-news, e-blasts, and so the link is there, the Canadian Schoolhouse. You can actually, I need to update that. So that is the official link, but you can also find us at thecanadianschoolhouse.com. So I will update that.
Easier to
You
remember.
probably, yeah, so I'll put that in there. And also, if you're interested in writing, we are looking for writers. And yeah, if you
Mm.
have a story to share, also on our main page, you can sign up there. Just scroll a little bit further down, and yeah, we would love to share your story with other homeschoolers because it's encouraging to hear from others and see what other people are doing and
It
struggling
is.
with, and we're in this together. So
And you
and
never know how much your story might mean to somebody else. I mean, me and Christine can write things, and we do. We write things for the website and articles, lots of learning stuff on there. But it's those personal stories, I find anyway, that really are meaningful to me when I hear those personal stories about somebody. So you just keep that in mind for anyone watching and listening to us. That really you don't have to be a writer, and it's those you just don't know how you're doing life might really encourage somebody else. So that's what we have our site for, so you can share that stuff.
yeah, and I'm not sure if anybody caught the Kirk Cameron interview with Paul and Gina
Oh,
from
that was so good.
TOS. But he called us, we're a tribe, we're the homeschooling tribe, and we got to look
Hmm.
out for each other. So definitely sharing your story is definitely going to encourage somebody.
Yeah.
And so if you missed that interview, I'm going to drop a link in here. So it
Hmm.
was, I mean, some of the people were commenting like we went to church yesterday because it was so good. There were so many
Yeah.
encouraging words and such a boost to your homeschooling
uh
confidence. So I'm gonna do that right now.
and really that great. You know what I loved about the interview? So, okay, Kirk Cameron, it's a fairly popular name. Most of you know that, especially depending on your age. He's very popular in we looked that up. So it was like from 85 to 92. Growing
Wow.
Pains was on. So that was the big, Kirk Cameron's been in several movies and shows since then, but he's got this movie. It's more documentary style, I guess, out called The Homeschool Awakening, and what do you say, like 15 families, I think it is, that they go over and how they're homeschooling to how they're homeschooling more or less, right? And so it's people sharing their stories, just like you were saying, Christine. It's that sharing of stories, but um, more importantly, I think it's this awakening, and I almost want to think of it as revival because it's like, look what God is doing here. It's not just about um, families. There's so much to tear the family apart in our society, in our world, um, and homeschooling is what just keeps us together, keeps us a stick together family. I like that one. I've used that so much, it got stuck in my head, and that's what homeschooling helps you with, because there's so many things that are trying to separate and break down the family in this world, and God has actually really just given us this wonderful way to teach our children and to follow his path. And it's really hard for children to grow up in the public school system. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's much more difficult to grow up in the public school system and then try to take on the values of your family while you're actually almost influenced more by those values in the public school system.
Mhm.
Um, So that's one great big thing for homeschooling. And if you're not homeschooling, if maybe you're watching this and it's like, oh, well, maybe homeschooling is kind of um, interesting, or maybe we even think, as many people in this video, not that I've seen the Homeschool Awakening, but I did watch the trailer, and I don't know if it would be every family, but there were a number of people that seemed to be in that video that was like, oh, I would never do this, I always thought homeschooling was more like a cult, or there was, they're trying to think of a couple things of just like, oh, that's nothing I'd ever do. And I'm sure you've heard that too, Christine, right? Of people saying, oh, they would never homeschool, and then they're
They
saying
end
that
up,
after they homeschool,
yeah,
after they're homeschooling. I've got a few people that have said that to me, and they're not homeschooling, but I always try to put that out there, that it's actually easier to parent your children. At least I find it easier, and I've had the comparison of having a child grow up through the public school system, and the two I have now. I've only been homeschooled. I've been teaching them since birth, but it's to be able to parent your children appropriately, you need to be the main influence. And that just really, it doesn't happen, especially as our kids get older and older growing up in that system. um, it's really hard to be that main influence and the one that they know the most. So really hard to shift our values onto them. So anyway, watch that video with Kirk Cameron. And there's viewings in just in the States, not in Canada. But I am, eventually a DVD is going to be out, or the digital, a digital download of it or something. Eventually it's going to be, it's just new, so they're going to release it just in theaters June 13th and 14th. So if you are watching from the States, go to the homeschoolawakening.com. Homeschool, no, oh yes, it is the homeschoolawakening.com. Maybe you can put that ticker on from when they did this the other day, just to get that website down there. But you can go there and you can see where it's going to be in theaters. So again, just across the states, but if you may be watching from the States, and you can go and check that out. And that is a really cool. There's actually been a few different homeschooling movies, documentaries put out lately, and it's one of the wonderful things that have happened with the whole COVID situation is that
mhm,
more parents have turned to homeschooling, and for a lot of different reasons. Not just not just what, but they've just been able to realize, because of course for most of us, I don't know if it was where it was across the board, but it seemed like a lot of countries, even throughout the US, schools were closed down for a little while. So the public schools were trying to do school at home, and that's what it was, school at home, not homeschooling, not homeschooling as we do it, right?
yeah,
uh Trying to follow a public school system as they're trying to teach your kids at home is, a little bit sounds like a unusual form of torture, really. I heard the frustration in some parents, and I'm like, yeah, that does sound rough, but that's not, if you were educating your kids, that's not what it would be like, um at all. It'd be easier, much easier. um so let's, do we have any other announcements, or ready just to pop on to?
I think that was it. I mean, the only other thing that we can mention for now is
Oh
that
yes,
we're
the
still looking
stickers.
for Canadian reviewers. So if you would like to get your hands on some free homeschooling products, and to help other homeschoolers uh, decide on what kind of products they can use in their home, definitely check out the Homeschool Review Crew. So you can sign up at the homeschoolcrew.com, and hopefully get in contact with some great products,
Hmm.
um, and get to try them for free. So
And you get to choose your products. Don't think that it's just a product, like something comes out and then because you're on the crew, you have to now, because we really just want people in the Homeschool Review Crew, and even our single reviews. We really want people that actually have an interest in the product, because you're going to be able to give a more thorough review of it if it's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a product that works for our, that we'd like to try out for our family. So don't think you're pressed into reviewing something that doesn't interest you. We want you to have free products of stuff that you enjoy. So you kind of get the pick, right? You kind of, oh, this is for me or not. But we really need Canadian reviewers. So
hmm
if you just think a little bit, go and do the application. Still no obligation even after you do the application, but um, it's a great opportunity to share with your followers, and be able to get some free products and review great products.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So we'll move on to the Homeschool College Directory.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So feel free to so if you're listening to this live, ask your questions right in here. But I also want you to feel free to ask questions at any time. It doesn't have to be during these lives. There's now you can ask questions right in this. So these videos always happen in an event, our bi-weekly live streams here. It happens as a Facebook event, as well as it streams on YouTube, as well on the Old Schoolhouse channel. So you may be watching it there. And you can always ask questions to us. It's actually a lot better if you pop onto Facebook and ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
just because we monitor that uh, directly with us, where the YouTube is company wide. It's the Old Schoolhouse wide. Now we'll get the question if it pertains to something that is on the Canadian side of homeschooling, but this Homeschool College Directory and career resources. I actually really find this a really great resource, even for moms and dads, to get training on something, to work from home. And I'm going to pop through a couple of those as well anyway. But so I'm just going to share my screen here. Great. And okay, so so this is our Homeschool College Directory, and you can find it direct at that website address, www.homeschoolcollegedirectory.com. It's also on the Old Schoolhouse website, so it's a page that sits on there, so you can find it through our sites or on Homeschool. You can find the college directory on one of our menus there. So throughout this is a directory of universities, colleges, and then other post-secondary training things. There's also some resources getting kids prepared for college um, or university or any other kind of like trade schools or anything kind of post-secondary, any kind of training, let's put it that way. So that's why I actually like to even say that this could be a good resource to see what kind of post-secondary, right, or higher education learning is here. Now you can certainly attend any universities or colleges as an adult, as a parent as well. Um, but there is also other, like this one right here. You're still seeing that, Christine? I'm still sharing that. I just clicked a link, and I know sometimes that.
Yeah, we're still looking at the Homeschool College Directory page.
Oh, okay. So I just opened that. Anyway, you go on here. It's medical transcription service. So that's one. I mean, that's great too. That may be something to encourage your high schoolers to go on to. And we certainly got it here for that post-secondary education. But knowing that all of these um, uh, places are not can be for moms as well and dads. And I just like this medical transcription service because that's an easy at-home job. So I wanted to bring your attention to there. So now what we've also got here is articles. You can do the search listing. So you're just going to search all the colleges and universities or all the post-secondary institutions that we have listed here. There's the college resources, and I'm going to open this page, and I think what I need to, let me click that again. Click it 3 times. Third time's a charm. And I'm going to have to stop sharing, and then I'm just going to have to share my screen so I can share another tab.
Yeah, I think it's specific to whatever you started with. So
Mm-hmm. There. So now this is the college resources. So this is a good place to look. Now you can just search this. You can do, finding any country. Now, just out of curiosity, let's see what we've got for um, Canada specifically. Okay, so nothing in the resources. There are colleges and universities though, um, that are from Canada, and not that you can't go to the U.S., but as well. I also want to note that these are lots of these are virtual kind of listings. So this page is going to load up with all the resources. So you can see it's not just colleges and universities. We've got this one beyond Booksmart, so it's just more like consultation trainings, college path consultants. Oh, this one's kind of neat. Cracking the code to free college, how to get a free ride to college. Lots of different, so virtual kind of things, right? So even though these may be US based, they're a lot of things that are still relevant if you're living in Canada. And then I'm going to pop over to the articles page. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I know I could share this just in a tab or my window too, but this is much more fun just clicking all over the place. So articles is another really great place in the homeschool college directory to be able to get that preparation. All these different areas, high school transcript, showing you different ways to get that transcript, right? And different articles. Lots of these lots of these are links that are going to go to the magazine, because the magazine is filled with lots of information about post-secondary. And even our recent one, oh, I don't have our summer one actually. Our summer one just came out the beginning of June, didn't it? So I still have our spring one. And it talks about, see, even in there, our spring one talks about careers with birds, right? So we've got several articles in there about different careers to do with birds. And often I'm going to say almost every issue, if not every issue, has something for that higher education kind of learning, right? Or just life after homeschool. It's not always about getting additional training. Sometimes it's getting additional experience. So lots of these things lots of these links go to the magazine, but they do not need to be. This one here, I like this technical trade vocational a lot because I feel my boys will go in that area. Now they may go, lots of colleges, even universities have trades programs. So that's still, it's not just an individual trade school, which sometimes that's the way to do it. This one, special needs and post-secondary, financial, early graduation. Oh, college at home. I remember looking through this a bit because, of course, I just love doing all kinds of learning at home. So this one has quite a few neat articles in there to take a look at. So as you can see, this is just a collection of resources that can help you as the parent, or even help you as the student, be able to just prepare yourself, find the information you want specifically to do with articles. I've actually got an art careers article that is really listing a whole bunch of different art careers, and then really Canadian schools that have it. That's going to be on here soon. So I'll probably have that stuck under probably something under career paths. But we'll have that on there for you to look at, and anyone that might be interested in different careers with the arts, like specifically art, painting, stuff like that. That'll be a really neat one, and I hope to have that on this week, and maybe I'll pop back to this event and share that. So that's all I'm going to share. Let me click that, stop sharing. That's all I'm going to share there. And we can maybe just have a couple other points about that post-secondary life and how to navigate that. So one thing I want to mention is what probably comes up most often in the homeschooling, as people are either thinking about the long term of homeschooling, so maybe they're already homeschooling, or they're thinking, well, can my child get into post-secondary education if I'm homeschooling? And the answer is a definite yes. homeschoolers will probably just as often, in fact, in research, there are more graduating homeschoolers as a percentage of, I mean, homeschooling is still a small percentage of students, um,
Mhm.
but there are the graduation from post-secondary is definitely much higher than it is for school, for kids that have gone through public schools, and mainly for the reason, not because we're just a real special lot, but just for the reason that it's a lot of individual learning in, when you get onto that post-secondary, in colleges and universities. I also find that a lot of people, going through school, they don't really realize what they don't really discover who they really are, what that great career path is for them, or at least that great career path at that time, and they get into something that doesn't fit them very well. And a lot of homeschoolers, they have so much time to be able to pursue and investigate, and there's just so much more put on what do you want to do, and helping those kids understand that more because as parents we know our kids so much better, and then when we get to have them around us, for their whole life up until that 17, 18, 19 years of age, right, we're able to direct them more and saying, you know what, I see in your learning you're going this is like so much better than a like a career counselor can do, because we're around them all the time. We know about every little part of their personality. And that's just one of the great things of homeschooling, that you can, be able to, so the student, right, the child can know themselves a lot better at a lot earlier age. And then as the parent, we actually know them a lot better, at a lot earlier age. And they have lots of time to follow their desires, so that just puts them in a better place when they start post-secondary, whatever it may be. And it isn't always, college. Gosh, I've heard so many lately people talking about their kids getting into, like dance, like, and but going into specialized schools, right? Of dance, theater, like productions, production work like that. And real and not that they just started it then, right? Because they, since they were 11 or 12, they were doing that kind of thing. And just it really took such a big chunk of their growing up time, like their teenage times especially. That's when our kids really, we can really get them into certain areas. So, um, that's just one of the great things about post-secondary, um, as a homeschooler. So, I don't know, Christine, anything else to add on there? I kind of brought up the biggest points that I think comes up,
Yeah.
as far as post-secondary coming on, but I know there's a few more.
Well, just to go off of your last point there, I mean, you when you're walking alongside them, they can have, um, those ideas, those, for those they things see things on TV and like, "Oh, I wanna be that," or, "I
Mhm.
wanna be this flashy sort of thing," but then
Yep.
it without making sure that they're grounded in who they are and what God
Mhm.
really wants for our lives, then, then they go looking for these, flashy things out there, but it's not really who they are and what their
Mhm.
talents and skill sets are. And as you mentioned, as parents, we are the ones who kind of, you know, shape
Mhm.
shape them in that area and saying, well, no, let's look at what you're good at, and this is actually a better route for you, or let's explore other options because you
Mhm.
can. Because sometimes, um, in the public system, like you kind of get on this track, and then, okay, so you're going to complete the 2-year college course, then you're going to do the 4-year university, and then halfway through the university, you're like, I don't think this is for me. And then,
Mhm.
like, I've had so many friends have just kind of switched majors halfway through because they're now trying to figure out, because now they're older and
Yeah,
realizing,
getting
oh,
to
well,
know
this is not
themselves
what I
better.
thought it was. But see, with
Mhm.
homeschooling, I mean, we take field trips, we go
Mhm.
exploring different things. So, like, if your kid wants to be a mechanic, like, you can actually take time and, hone in on those skills if they've got those
Mhm.
skills, visit mechanics, take
Mhm.
courses and visit shops and all of that is part of your education. So you don't have to wait until you graduated to then go look for these specific skills. You're building them in as part of your learning. So
Mhm.
I mean, yeah. And so I'm a big believer in bringing back like apprenticeship programs
Mhm.
because I
Me
feel like
too.
some of these major skills are getting lost. Like, I mean, nothing wrong with getting that nice piece of paper with a degree on it. Because obviously there's a place for that,
Yeah,
especially for
for
certain
sure.
jobs, they need that piece of paper. But I mean, you could find something really helpful, really resourceful, and that's something that you're good at if you just take
Mhm.
the time to explore all of that before you reach, that college and university level. So now is the time, and I
Mhm.
think we had that in our description. Like it's never too early to start training them to start thinking about
Yeah.
what kind of path they want to be on. So
We have conversations about that regularly. And I like to have the conversations regularly, not to be like, okay, well, let's start planning for for 5 years down the road or
of
something,
course,
right? My boys are 11 and 14. So the 14-year-old is definitely getting, and at an age where I'm really seeing him form towards certain things. Now, do
yeah,
I know exactly what he's going to be?
of
No,
course
because
not.
he's still
No,
got so much to explore and experience. But
exactly.
to be honest, I will say that I see him in something more hands-on. Like, and
Hmm.
he may go to not saying he wouldn't go to like a college, but he would go for a real hands-on um,
Hmm.
experience. In fact, there was I was hoping in the background with one of the homeschool lives, and it was with I'm not going to remember the school, but they have several campuses around BC. Do you remember that? Because you were one of us was going to do the background role, and it was
I don't
Polly.
remember the name of it now.
Yeah, not Polly.
No.
Oh shoot. Anyway, it was a school that was across BC, and I'm in Saskatchewan, so we're not too far from BC. But I really loved their approach. They were so much. They were a college, an accredited college, and they had so many trades within their. They had other more academic based, but they had so many trades in their university. I think that's actually what it was a university. Because to me, I'm thinking trades are really only college kind of things, right? But this university had lots of trades and training, and I'm kind of excited for my either my boys to go to school for something that is really so not just go to school because like and almost for them to go to school and make that choice to pay money now for their education, right? To pay lots of money for their education. um they really need to be not that I wouldn't help with that, but I really do believe that if they want to do some of that, they have to put in some of their money. That's where my thinking is now. Like they have
It's
to
true.
just like my son wants a dirt bike. And we just moved to a nice bigger land recently, right? So the real dirt bike opportunities, lots of dirt bike trails to explore. And he said, "Well, you pay for half of it and we'll pay for half of it," right? And
Nice.
I believe there's so much value to put to that. So that's the same thing with education. Maybe not half of it because that's a lot bigger ticket for the most part for most schools than a dirt bike, uh but to still have their interest enough in it that they want to pay for it, because that also shows a little bit of interest. Well, do you want to put a few $1,000s towards this? Because
Yep.
for me in any training that I've done, I'm more than happy to pay money for something I want to learn, right? And for somebody to have it laid out in a way that's coherent and I can follow along in a course to learn that. um, and I also want to actually I really feel, I mean, I love entrepreneurship. I always have business ideas popping through my head to do
Mhm.
myself. I love talking with people about businesses, specifically from home, but really any businesses. I love to encourage people to work from home. And uh and so I'm a little bit leaning towards that idea too, right? Lots of different things that they don't need to go to a formal education setting for, but that they can learn these skills to do various different kinds of businesses or various different kinds of services, providing products, providing services, right? All that kind of stuff that they can just get learning in little bits over time, right?
Yep.
So many successful entrepreneurs don't have a college
Nope.
education or university degree to speak of. Some that even went and then dropped out after their first year or two, and then went on to do what they really wanted to
Yeah.
do. So we want to keep that in mind for our kids too, because there does in some areas there's a real push that you need to have uh, a formal education, and there's pretty successful people not having a formal education and
That
doing what
is true.
they enjoy.
That is true.
Mhm. So overall, I'm just gonna make the point of we want our kids to do what's right for them, what God created them to do. And it doesn't mean it's the same career their whole lives. I know I haven't had the
Mhm.
same career my whole
Yeah.
life. I've done a
Same
couple
here.
things. And it's been perfect. Not saying that, oh, that was horrible. Like I was a hairstylist for a number of years. And it's not like I look back on that and say, well, that was not for me. That was actually great for me at that time. And it gave me a lot
Mhm.
of skills that went on to other careers that I've taken on too as well, especially with marketing and what I do with the old schoolhouse. It's lots of marketing stuff, and I love that behind the scenes kind of thing. And it's so all these little ideas and thoughts that we have for our kids are great because we for the most part as parents we know them the most, but we want to make sure that that's really fit in with where they are. So some of that light probing with them to get thinking about that. Just as you said, Christine, to have these conversations about what they might like to do or what I see in them to do, right? I can have those
Mhm.
conversations with my kids, not to say, well, this is what you should do, just like,
Right.
I see you leaning towards this way. Like, what do you think about that kind of a career, right? So
Yeah.
great to talk, just have conversations starting at any age, like starting at even, I mean, I think your youngest is 5
Yes.
now, right,
Yep.
Christine? Right.
Yep.
So even at 5 years old, right? I'm sure you can have conversations about that, just so it gets their head into thinking about
Well,
the things.
and I mean, I don't know if you were, there could be kids out there that, just do what mommy and daddy tell them to do, or what the teachers tell them to do if you're in the public school. And that was me. I just, I actually wanted to go into music or history. I love
Mhm.
history, and I obviously love music. So I those were my fields that I wanted to go into when I was in high school. And then, the teacher said, "Well, you can't get a job doing history, or you can't musicians don't make money. So go be a teacher, go study English." And so I just, okay. And my
Yeah.
parents thought that was a good idea too. So, like,
Mm.
okay. So I did it, and I have my BA in English. And and obviously God has used that. I'm getting to use that now with this job here
Ah,
at Canadian
yeah.
Schoolhouse. And and it's great. But, like, there's still, if somebody were to ask me, I feel like I wish that somebody would have asked me what I would like to do. And I think when you encourage those conversations, you let them voice, you know, their thoughts. And yeah, for a 5-year old might
Mhm.
wanna be an astronaut one
Yeah.
day, and then a couple months down the road, he wants to be a
Mhm.
fireman, like, so
Yep,
it
yep.
changes. But to
Yeah.
keep the conversations going, because then, it's in their mind, and then they're thinking about it, and then they
Mhm.
can make those decisions for themselves. Well, they learn more about it, and then think, "Oh, I don't really wanna get burned, so I'm not gonna be a fireman anymore." So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
that sounds
it's just
fulfilling.
get those wheels turning, and
Uh,
and let them be a part of the decision, because it is their life that their lives that they're living. So,
mhm.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think we will wrap this up for now. I actually wanted to just go check and say what we're going to do in 2 weeks, but we actually don't have anything booked there.
Yeah.
So I, I guess within the next week, we should probably figure out what we're going to do next week. And hey, anybody watching have some ideas of what you'd like to see, not just for in 2 weeks time when we do our
Yeah,
regular
but
live
just
stream,
in
but
general.
in general, yeah, we love to get ideas of anything we can do. We have so many resources and things we can pull from across our company, that we can make a really good stream and pretty much a really good recording and live stream on pretty much any topic. And we want to do that most. What we want to do is have these live streams about topics that interest you, the homeschooler. So or even you, the parent that's thinking about homeschooling. I'm just feeling a real call in my heart from God. I always do, but I just feeling a real call in my heart, um, that God has got so many people he is just pulling into
Mhm.
changing the way they're thinking about how they're raising their kids.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we're going to have a lot more homeschoolers. We've had a big influx in the last couple of years for the obvious reasons, but um, and many of those parents have decided that that's what they want to do. They don't want to go back to the public school system, even if it's exactly like it was before. They just realize the real beauty and what that does for the family, to be able to educate your own children and just have control over that area of their life, which you have very little control when they go to public school. Um, so we will, yeah, we'll think on something. We're gonna have to see where God is calling us for our next one, Christine. So
Yeah.
we'll say bye for now, and feel free to contact us through Facebook and just even comment in these live streams, events, and everything where the videos are, and we will respond to that for sure. So everyone enjoy the rest of their day. Bye for now.
Bye.